Hey, good morning and welcome to Funky Rainbow, this bright and beautiful Saturday morning filled with feelings. I don't know what a bookshop can be except a gold mine of feelings. Every single book you pick up, every single book you look at, it's going to kindle in you some wonderful feelings. And how important are they? Look at the world, how it has changed in the last 2 years. There's COVID, there's been the pandemic raging over and over and over again. What does that do to us? Locked in our houses, and maybe lots and lots of feelings locked up inside us. There's a war going on at the moment, and what kind of feelings does that evince in all of us? It is a complex world, and we have a gamut of emotions to understand and express in this world. So we felt we'll pick out a collection of books. But like I said, these are just books that we have interpreted as books that express feelings. Otherwise, every single one of them is a feeling at Funky Rainbow, and we have over 9,000 books in our collection. In fact, probably over 10,000 books in our collection presently. So lovely to see familiar friends and new ones. I can see Arunji saying good morning, and I can see Harini AS saying good morning as well. What a pleasure to have you up at the Buzzaar. I know there are so many of you watching us on Instagram as well, and we really promise you an emotion packed topic this morning. Sangeeta Krishnamurthy, how very lovely that you've joined us. It's an exciting topic and one that's super needed. Indeed, it is. We began by saying that how do you pick out a collection of books on feelings? Every single one of them is expressing a feeling. It depends on whether that's the feeling that you are that's a feeling that you are feeling at the moment or not. But yet we have pulled out a smattering of books, to showcase that expresses books that tell stories of different kinds of feelings. And we really hope, like Sangeeta says, that this super needed topic and this super needed collection will go into libraries in homes and schools very, very quickly. We're delighted that many of the schools are slowly opening up, and that's making us feel really good, actually. Book Pickle, how very lovely to see you here. Socio emotional learning, much needed. How can you take off socio emotional learning from any book, especially a good one? So, yes, we have a clutch of them for you. I wanted to tell our friends on Instagram, you can watch the recommendations, which go on till 12 noon. But when our guest of the day joins us at 12, we would love it if you could move to our YouTube channel or Facebook page if you are on it. It would be it would be lovely if you're able to catch that conversation with a new publisher on the block, a new author on the block as well, and a fantastic book of feelings. Ritvika Roy, what a pleasure. What a great topic, you say, and so relevant and relatable for everyone, irrespective of age. I can't say that over and over again at Funky Rainbow. Every single book here that's probably meant for like 2 year olds or 5 year olds or 10 year olds or 18 year olds, resonating so deeply with the entire team at Funky Rainbow. So, of course, a lot of us live lives it's very, very evident for me to see from my team around at the office that what we feel is who we are. We walk in on one day, somebody is sad, somebody is glad, somebody is mad, somebody is, stressed out. Sorry? Mostly mad is what Muttama says. I'm not so sure. Maybe we walk in mostly mad or annoyed, mostly annoyed, but books generally tend to set that right. Now the thing is, what what do we need, what do these books that we're showcasing need to do? They need to help us identify these feelings. There's a gamut of them, obviously, and life is constituted of this gamut of feelings, isn't it? I mean, there's just there are there are the straightforward ones: happy, sad, mad, glad. But aren't there those happy, sad, mad, glad combinations as well that exist in our lives? And it's when you experience and express every one of those feelings that you have actually you have, I believe, a good, fulfilling life. So what do we want these books to do? We want these books to help children identify these feelings. We want these books to help them see how to express these feelings well, and how can we make that easier. For instance, if you're reading a book and there is a character in the book that's feeling the kind of feeling that you are, it's wonderful to be able to pick it up and say, well, this is the one. What do you think this character is feeling? Because my interpretation is as good as yours, is as good as any child who's reading the book. And when you do that, when you are able to identify those feelings, I think you learn to better express them. And even more importantly, it helps you build empathy. That one word which we have needed more often than not in the last 2 3 years. I mean, with 2020, with the pandemic coming in, and I think, are we getting out of it? Every time you lift your head and you think, are we getting out of it? I mean, we may be getting out of it, but there's a war raging in the world. What do we need the most at the moment? We really need socio emotional learning. We really need to build empathy. And that's what we hope this collection of books will help us and our children do. As always, there are tons of books in our collection, all on our site, www.funkyrainbow.com. You've got to click on the tab that says Book Buzzaar. A drop down menu will say Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and Season 4. Click on Season 4, and you'll have a header that says Dealing with Feelings, or Feelings, Dealing with Feelings, and a clutch of books in there for different age groups. We're going to pick a few and share them with you. Since Muttama so promptly said that we all walk in feeling rather mad, I thought the best emotion, and I'm sure a lot of parents, teachers, and librarians connect with it, the first one that I did want to focus on was anger. I mean, she's right. 90% of the times, as you get yourself to the office, you are mad about something. You're mad about the fact that you're stuck in a traffic jam, or you're mad about the fact that some publisher hasn't delivered the books that we wanted. And, what do we do? How do we express this emotion? And especially children. I mean, I'm sure there is a lot around them that makes them quite mad. So two of the books that I have chosen, and for this emotion, is this lovely one from Pratham, written and illustrated by Vinayak Varma, the winner of the Good Books Award for Best Book of Fiction, Angry Aku. What a lovely, wonderful little picture book it is. It's about a little girl called Aku. And what happens to Aku? Her dad has gone to pick her up from school, and she has had an awful day at school. I'm sure many, many children will connect with that feeling. I mean, it has been tough, and doing schooling online, even tougher, I'm assuming. Now, what happens? What has made her mad? What does her father do? I mean, look at that picture, Aku with her angry halo around her head. I mean, I just love the way Vinayak, who's a wonderful writer and illustrator, has used that halo to convey the feelings that Aku is feeling at the moment. So her father takes her back home. And you know what he does? Gently, gently, just trying to find out. As he's driving, he says, "Look at the pretty sunflowers in the field." And she's like, "Gosh, they're too yellow. They're just hurting my eyes." just to trust a kid to say it. And then as they reach home, he's like, Aku, look, there's monkeys on top of the house. And she's like, Chi, shoo, go away, I don't want to see these monkeys. What I love about the book is that it gently explores what could be the reason for Aku's anger. And Vinayak, when he was talking to us, said he actually researched it. Talking to counselors, talking to psychologists to find out what was making Aku angry. It could just be that she was hungry. How many of us get angry when we are hungry? Really, right? Gently, the book goes on to explore Aku's anger, and I think it's a great one to. I'm not giving away the ending, of course, but I think it's a lovely one to explore this emotion. The other one that we picked on the theme of anger is again a fantastic book from Katha called Oh No, Not Again. And this one, is a really humorous story, which is about the princess of Dham Dhum Nagar. Now, what of the princess of Dham Dhum Nagar? Well, Banu, the princess of Dham Dhum Nagar, loves, and I love Rajiv Ipe's colorful, lovely illustrations in the book. Now, she's quite happy, and I think, man, if somebody had a library like this, why on earth would you ever get angry about anything? But well. So she's perfectly happy, perfectly content. But the thing that she loves to do the most of all is to play cricket. She's a fantastic bowler. And you would think that everything was just tickety boo. Now, of course, but the people around, they are every once in a while looking this way and that way because BB, the princess, of course, right, has an awful temper when things absolutely don't go her way. Look at that, and look at that temper tantrum. She's the best bowler, the most famous cricketer of Dhamdum Nagar. She has a wonderful library. She owns the best cricket pitch in the world, but she also has a very, very bad temper. I mean, look at the way the book expresses the way that emotion is. And I think, it's really wonderful if you pick out, when you're reading these stories, to point to the children really what they are seeing. Ask them what they're seeing. How is it being conveyed that Princess Banu or Bibi has an awful temper? Of course, you have to read the story to find out what happens to Princess Banu and her temper. Does she get it in check? Now, this one, in fact, I forgot to tell you the ages of these books, but I maintain this every single time. These are just ages in our heads. They could work with children. I mean, when you use them, you know whether it is working or not. But typically, we'd say 5+ or maybe even 6+ for Angry Aku. Same with this one, 5+ or 6+ for Oh No, Not Again. This one published by Katha and priced at 275 rupees. You can click our website www.funkyrainbow.com and order any of these books that we're recommending today, plus more in our collection. Those were two books on anger. And I can see Ritvika saying, Shruti Rao, Susie will not be quiet. Very effective because it depicts a child's anger and how important it is for adults to empathize and respect it. Yes, absolutely. Up in our bazaar, several of the books, on the face of it, they may just seem books. But when you read the blurbs, or, we may have put it into this dealing with feelings bazaar because characters in the book are experiencing those feelings, expressing them, and dealing with them. That's a wonderful recommendation, Ritvika. Thank you. We do have some other books by Shruti, which are coming up in the next set of recommendations, which is the feeling of fear. I mean, how many of us are really, really afraid of so many things, reasonable things, unreasonable things, but fear as an emotion sometimes can just engulf you. What do you do? How do you combat it? How do you identify what is making you afraid? And for fear, we have three lovely books that I quickly want to run you through. And I know there are many emotions and many books, so I can't dwell, on talking about each one of them. But this is one of those lovely books, written by Yamini Vijayan, again published by Pratham, called Stage Fright, illustrated by Somesh Kumar. What is this story about? It's about a young girl called Champa who loves to sing. She absolutely sings with gay abandon whenever she's by herself or whenever she is with her friends and her family. Look at that. She sings like a lion and a bee. She sings through the rain and through the heat. But when she sings, she is filled with the most marvelous feeling in the world. But when school annual day comes up, oh gosh, the story just completely changes. Why can't Champa sing on stage? Can she face the huge crowd on annual day? That fear. What are we going to do? I mean, when a little girl can sing so wonderfully and so marvelously, and how many of us do it? I mean, how many of you sing in the bathroom? I'm sure several of you are great bathroom singers. I absolutely put my hands up, and I can see several going up around over here. Why won't we come up and sing on stage? Well, it's that emotion called fear, and how and what can we do to deal with it? You have to read this lovely book to find out what Champa does to deal with her fear. Does she overcome it? Does she overcome it? And what does she do to overcome it? This is, we'd say, would work for 7+ year olds, and it's published by Pratham, priced at 50 rupees. We have two wonderful books again on the same theme, and it's funny how many children's books that deal with the theme of fear actually have stage fright as the setting to convey that fear, you see. And in that vein, there are two lovely books that again deal with the feeling of fear. We have Manya Learns to Roar by Shruti Rao, a book that we utterly and absolutely love, and we also know that many children, many parents, many adults love this one as well. Because what is the story about? I mean, I love the title of the book. It's such a powerful and wonderful title, and I think when you read it with your children, you need to ask why that title, what the title actually conveys. Now, young Manya, she just loves Jungle Book. Who doesn't? And she knows Sher Khan's dialogues just by heart. Now, when the school annual day is coming up, and that's another trope that just came out when we were pulling out these books. How many fear books are about getting on stage? You would think that, could it be fear of climbing a very tall mountain? Could it be, monsters under the bed? Yes, we do have books of, fear of monsters under the bed as well, but many of them about getting on stage, about being afraid get on stage. So here's Manya. She knows her lines. She knows that her teacher should absolutely pick her to play the role of Sher Khan in the school annual day. But alas, that's not what happens. Her friend Rajat, friend quote unquote Rajat, is always making fun of her. Why? Because Manya stammers. And the teacher doesn't quite think that a stammering tiger could be Sher Khan. What does Manya do? How does she get on stage? Does she agree to come up on stage? And the more anxious she gets, the worse things really become. This one illustrated by Priya Kurian, and I can see so many of you putting up, comments saying that Manya is an amazing book. Muttama reminding me that we launched the book at Samhita. We did the school launch of Manya Learns to Roar at Samhita Academy, and really a wonderful book. That many years later, still finding lots and lots of readers. I can see Ritvika says, sorry, I meant Susie will not speak. I clubbed the title with Mile will not be quiet. And also bathroom singer with stage fright here too. Absolutely. No need to be afraid. Just come up and sing. That's quite all right, really. It's somebody else's problem what they are hearing, really. And in, combining it with the concept, I mean, in another book that deals with pretty much of a similar theme is Big Bully and Me by Aarti Sonthalia, also about a young boy called Krish who has to give a speech, but he's so afraid because he stammers. And you know what, he's been partnered with the class bully to give this speech. Gosh, how is he going to overcome his fear? How is he going to get out of this mess? So two lovely books, we would recommend them for 7+, 8+ year olds, depending on the reading levels, but excellent ones about dealing with fear. I can see many comments coming up, and I'm going to try and take one or two of them. Harini says, very good recommendations for child guidance centers with children coming in with all these emotions. Yes, we say that. We say that these books have uses way beyond what people imagine they can be. And we would like them to go to every nook and corner and be used in different ways. That's what the Buzzaar has taught all of us to do. It's taught us to recognize that these books have far, far greater uses in very, very many places. Any books about righteous anger? Kids are often told not to be angry when inconvenient to adults. A lot of good has happened due to anger from how things are, like Greta Thunberg, or the several women doctors who have battled prejudice. So many such stories of how good has come out of anger, channeled usefully. Absolutely. There is, in fact, the book that Ritvika had mentioned and whose title she got muddled up, Susie, Will Not Speak, is about righteous anger. There is also that lovely one on the case of the missing water by Pratham. There are two young girls who get really mad that the water meant for their village is being dammed somewhere, and they decide that that's exactly what they're going to do. That righteous anger helping them, and this is what it is about. Emotions actually get you to act. That's why it's important to recognize them. That's why it's important to express them. And there are several books in our collection where characters are prompted to act, because in some instances, because they get mad and they decide that they want to be the change that they want to see. I mean, we do have a couple of books on Greta Thunberg. We do have children's books on Malala. I mean, it's great that prompts you to action. And you're absolutely right, Sangeeta, that's the very, very positive way to channelize your emotions. I can see Ritvika saying Nida learns the way. Yes, absolutely. Samina Mishra's Nida finds a way about, and even in that instance, Nida channelizing her feelings, father too, who's like just so afraid of Nida doing anything. The two of them, the adult and the child, doing, sort of converting their anger into positive action. I mean, in the case of not even anger, actually, just deciding to go ahead and act and do what Nida wants to do. Several such books, actually. So like I said, we just pick a few that we are able to focus on. A lot of them, the rest of them in our Buzzaar tag, you can go up and take a look for sure. The next emotion, and this is one that's a tough one. I mean, to deal with for us as adults, for children, I'm sure as well. The feeling of grief. I mean, it can just consume you, isn't it? We all know it. We all know it. And there's grief sometimes when you look around, at the way the world is. There's grief because something is not quite okay, inside your own home. And how do we deal with this complex emotion called grief? We do have some lovely books that I want to showcase, and there are several of them, even when we pick up on the theme of grief. But we can pick and choose and show you only two or three of them. One of my favorite ones, I mean, and I rarely we look, I mean, we do have a collection of Western books at Funky Rainbow. We try to curate those as well, not putting in just the easy to access ones. And this one, by an illustrator who just takes my breath away every single time I look at his books, is Shantan. And this one, called The Red Tree, is just an absolute stunning book. What is it about? I love the blurb of the book. It says, "Sometimes the day begins with nothing to look forward to." What a powerful way to convey what the characters in the book are feeling. And this one, and I'm just going to show you these stunning illustrations in this book. Shantan, we used to have some wonderful graphic novels of his. I wonder why we can't source them back from the publishers over and over again. I mean, these ones fly off our shelves, and we're never easily able to get them back. But that's, of course, our own anger at the way the system functions, and we've got to find a way to channelize it and do something exciting. So this one, of course, is about a character, whose day begins rather badly, with nothing and absolutely nothing to look forward to, and the day just getting worse as it progresses. Gosh, just look at it. Darkness overcomes you. I mean, I can't stop looking at these pages over and over again. What happens? What is the red tree all about? I mean, what happens to this character? Does the grief of that day? And the thing with Shantan's minimalist books is the fact that, why is this character grieving? You can just peg your own reasons to it. Look at the way look at the way he's portrayed darkness. It is an excellent, you can when you're reading it with the child, you can easily say, is this depression? You don't know. Is this grief at the loss of a loved one? I mean, is this grief at breaking up a relationship? Just so beautiful. And of course, I can't end without showing you one of my most beautiful pictures from this book. Nobody understands. Ah, how many times do each and every one of us feel that nobody ever understands? Look at that way, look at that bottle, look at that child holed up inside that bottle. Gosh, Shantan's red tree has got to be in every house, every school, every library, for sure. I can see Ritvika making several suggestions. Yes, if you checked out, we do have Lies We Tell in our collection already up in the Feelings Bazaar. And yes, I can see Arun saying this is a wonderful book. Sangeeta saying Mo Willems, Leonardo the Terrible Monster. We did try so hard to get Mo Willems's books. In fact, we tried Mo Willems, we tried Todd Parr, we tried so many of these, but distributors and publishers, they just inhabit another universe altogether. But while we are on the theme of grief, we do want to recommend to you Darkless, Tanushri Singh's Darkless, because this is also such a wonderful book. I mean, you could decide, Ani, in the book, what is Ani and why is Ani feeling the way that he is feeling. I mean, that's why we have so many picture books up in this collection, simply because they open themselves up to interpretation. You could be feeling a particular way, and you can identify that from the way the writer and the illustrator have created the setting. Arunji saying, at times I wonder, I wish I was born in 2020. The number of books that are written for all ages. You are, sir. You buy so many books from us. I have a feeling that when we run out of them at Funky Rainbow, we are going to have to come and raid your collection. Lakshmi Karunakaran, what a pleasure to have you at the bazaar today. Well, the comment's gone off, so I can't read it, but you say you want to come to Funky Rainbow and you want to pick up all of these books, all of these and more, Lakshmi, waiting for you. And Sankita says, I got it at the Lock the Box sale yesterday. Why won't they give it to us, independent sellers? I'm asking an angry question, actually. And I really hope someone's watching and we can do this one day. Why does Lock the Box get it and not Funky Rainbow? Really is what I need to say. Ritvika saying, of course, that Pickle Yoke has a great many books on grief. Of course, all of them up in our collection. Boo, Gone Grandmother. But we've picked one or two and sometimes try to pick ones that we haven't recommended earlier. And Darkless, I agree, is absolutely amazing. What I love in Darklist, and I typically, just don't ever like to give away what happens in the end because it's for all of us to read and find out and interpret. But it's so lovely how Ani finds his way out of the darkness. And what is that? There's another emotion in it that has actually helped him find his way out of the darkness. And exactly on the same theme, a new one, which has come to us from Karadi Tales, called Parties Rasam, written by Janaki Sabesh and Dwani Sabesh, is again about a young girl who just loves her party so, so much. I mean, everything about her party is warm and, just like the rasam, warm and flavorful, just like the rasam party makes. And you know what she says? She says when she's interacting with her party, she always says, hey, I hope you have to teach me how to make it one day. But before that day comes, you see what has happened? Party is gone, right? Now what happens to the little girl Malli in the book? I mean, how does she cope with the loss of her party? How beautiful. Sometimes when you see these pictures, you know exactly what the characters are feeling. And I think that's exactly why books are the best ways to understand emotions, to empathize, to learn empathy, with characters who are feeling these emotions. And in Parties Rasam 2, what does Malli end up doing? How does she cope with the loss of her grandmother? Has the rasam, the flavorful South Indian rasam, have anything to do with it? You've got to read these lovely books to find out. They are utterly ageless. So I think at this bazaar, we need to recommend, put age groups to books. I can see Sangeeta saying Gone Grandmother in our collection, but not in print with Tulika. I really hope they bring it back in print very soon. Book Pickle saying such exciting times. We didn't have so much variety and choice growing up. That's why I still read children's books. The best adults, there are lovely books, which say that adults should absolutely be reading children's books even when they're old and wise. Archana, welcome. What a pleasure to see you at the show this morning. A big shout out to you for opening a library in the hospital, where your husband was. I think a big shout out needs to go to you and your daughters for just giving those children the best gift that they will ever get in their lives: your time, your love, your affection, and that wonderful collection of books. Archana Atri runs a book club called the AA's Book Nerds, and just recently, thanks to Richa Jha, a publisher, we found out that she set up a library in her husband's memory in the very cancer hospital that he was getting treated. How wonderful. These emotions just bind us together. Rupa Baliga, good morning. You say we love this one. Other books on grief are The Heart and the Bottle, Oliver Jeffers. We couldn't get it. We just couldn't get it. So don't we must just not go down, and we won't go up on Amazon and order it. We just won't. But why do they have it and why don't we have it? Angry questions to which we need to find answers. Muttama saying, do not thrust these questions on our audience, then it'll become a bazaar on anger. Archana saying, but during COVID times, parents have been asking me not to read books on death and loss. I can imagine that. And, the thing is, we have lots of books with happy feelings as well. But you know what, right? Life is an absolute khichdi of all these emotions. Can be happy, sad, mad, glad, everything else in between as well. And, it's just utterly, utterly lovely that we do have books, positive, happy books. In fact, Archana, because you said that, the feeling of love, I mean, I'm going to share two wonderful books which I have. The reasons for the love in those books are so heartwarming that I'm absolutely going to recommend this one called Love Like That, published by Pickle Yolk Books. And I know many people, have been saying that the Pickle Yolk books are great ones for emotions, written by Richa Jha and illustrated by Gautam Benegal, the late Gautam Benegal. Is such a lovely story about little Crew and his mama kangaroo. And as they go off on adventures, hopping on adventures from one part of the world to the other. Now, what about it? They go here, they go there, they do things together. And you know what Crew absolutely discovers, and like I said, this emotions bazaar always making me give away the endings of the book, which I never kind of want to do. But you see, traveling here, there, everywhere, secure in the fact that his mother always loves him. What a beautiful book. I mean, Archana, when parents say this, when, people saying we don't want, books on the theme of death and loss, and it's understandable, there's so much of it all around. These books just make you go, oh, they warm the cockles of your heart like no other. It's just wonderful, love like that. And I think it's so important for children to know that there's someone there for them, there's someone that's loving them. That's just the best gift that we can give all the children in the world, really, right? And exactly in the same vein, Richaja and Gautam Benegal's Love Like That is Perumal Murugan's Lost in the Forest. Punachi, Lost in the Forest, isn't it? I mean, I just love the way Priya Kurian has stunningly illustrated this picture book. What is it about? Punachi, who goes off into the forest in a huff because she's had a fight with her friends, and she's going in deeper and deeper because the forest is looking so exciting. I mean, even if those emotions are not portrayed here, imagine what you can do when you're reading it with a child. Things, I mean, shall I just go a little further? Maybe a little further. There's also a little further. And, everything looks so exciting. But once she comes into the thick of the forest, everything around her is dark and scary. Now, what does she do? She finds a rock. She hides behind the rock. How does she deal with this fear? Why did I put it with love? Because in this book, for Punachi, it's all about her bond of belonging with an old woman who looks after her, or with whom she stays. That absolutely saves the day. So, like I said, hundreds of books that can be open to interpretation in so many wonderful ways. I mean, there's adventure, there's wonder, but there's also the feeling of belonging. Punachi, Love Like That, from Pickle Yolk, and Punachi, Lost in the Forest. Such wonderful ways of feeling comforted, loved, and feeling like because you have someone with you who's just loving you unconditionally. It's a great place and a great way to be. Lakshmi, you have a lovely recommendation. You say The Scar by Charlotte Mondiak or Moundick. is also a great book on grief. I haven't read that one. So there you go. We need to, I'm going to make a note of it. And if you have it on your shelf, possibly read it, pick it up and read it, and then look at how we can stock it on at Funky Rainbow. Arun saying, I'm also worried that this book is going to be out of the shelves. Red Panda. Do not, folks, support e commerce giants. Come to independent bookstores, because e commerce giants can simply just shut and open publishing houses as their whims and fancies dictate. We are worried too. We have stocks of the Red Panda books, and we really hope all these wonderful writers and illustrators and their team of editors find homes with other publishers, or the books get picked up by other publishers. For the moment, though, Funky Rainbow has a giant collection of Red Panda's books, so do consider picking them up, so that never mind what they decide to do, these books will live with us forever. I'm only halfway through my recommendations, and I think I'm already out of time. I'm just going to quickly run through one or two more. There's just so many books, guys. Just come over. Let's just, we can do live bazaars when you're here at Funky Rainbow. But I'm just quickly going to. Sankita saying, Vidya, do you read all these books? How much time in the day do you have? What do you think I do? Why do you think I'm feeling on top of the world? I just come to work, take out a mountain of books and start reading them and do nothing else. Certainly, and rave and rant about distributors that are not sending us books, on time. But that's it. Read the books, rave and rant. Read the books, rave and rant, Sangeeta. Muttama, of course, saying somewhere in between order also, but not minus the raving and ranting. That's the lovely thing about being in the midst of books. Darn, I have to send an email. Forget it. I'm just going to read a book instead. Leave that email. And of course, gosh, I'm such a terrible speed reader. I try really hard nowadays when I read adult books not to speed read, frankly. I wish I worked out of Funky Rainbow. Hamara office हमेशा खुला है. Just tell us that you want to be here. We'll put a bean bag for you. We'll make you take books out of our shelves and put them back in. Of course, you can't get away, but do come by when you want to. I'm going to quickly run past just one or two more books, or maybe I should just show them to you. We love these two smile books, Siri Smile and, happiness as an emotion. Archana, again, because, you say that people do want happy books. Nilofer's Smile from Ekalavya and Siri's Smile from Tulika. Two lovely little books about girls whose smiles go missing. And what happens? Why do they go missing? And what happens? How do they find those smiles? In this one, the little Nilofer looking for it high and low. It had absolutely disappeared and was nowhere to be found. She turns the pages of many books, but she can't seem to find it. And you know what? All the drawing on the cover should give you an idea how and where she finds her smile. Little Siri, too, goes hunting everywhere to look for her smile, but absolutely can't find it. She asks every animal she meets. She asks the little ants, she asks the monkeys, she asks the sun in the garden. Where do you think she sees her smile? Often it's right in your face. You only need to try to smile. Two of those books, and two lovely other books as well. Gosh, girls, I don't think we're going to complete even half our selection at the moment, but I've got to show you these two wonderful books from Katha, which are so lovely as well. I mean, Jafta, what a beautiful book by Hugh Levin and illustrated by Lisa Copper. It's a little boy called Jafta growing up in Africa. And you know what? He grows up in a little African village and he describes his moods and feelings. The reason I've taken this is because he describes every mood and feeling that he's experiencing by comparing it to the animals that he sees around him. What a beautiful way to introduce multiple emotions to our youngest readers. Because you see in this, he says, when I'm happy, said Jafta, I purr like a lion cub, and or skip like a spider and laugh like a hyena. My God, the book effortlessly transports you to the African wilderness, but also into the also very much into the world of emotions. Archana, you're saying, are these in Hindi too, the smile ones? We have them only in English. A lot of the books from Tulika in Hindi have gone out of print, I'm afraid, in the pandemic. So I'm not sure Siri's Smile available in Hindi. We have them in English. And I can see Nilufer's Smile. Ekalavya might have them in Hindi, but do we? We don't have the one in Hindi. We have this one only in English. Lakshmi saying, this reminds me of this amazing book, Augustus and His Smile by Catherine Rayner. I've read that one. Indeed, Jafta, so much like that. Harini saying, feel like coming to FR right now just to read these books. हमारे दरवाजे खुले हैं. Just walk right in with a smile on your face and read all these books. Exactly in the same mold, A Lion in Paris, such a great, lovely picture book this is, by Beatrice Alemania. So nice. I know so many, it's been translated from the French, about this lion who comes to Paris. And while he's exploring beautiful Paris, a gamut of emotions. He's suddenly scared. He's suddenly wondered why the adults are just absolutely unconcerned. Then he suddenly thinks he really needs to do something to make them feel a bit afraid. Gosh, how well I never even looked at it like that, till we said, hey, we need to look at books and feelings. And when you were looking at it and reading it, you're like, oh my, look at these pages. I mean, how many emotions tucked away in the city. And I think this is really true for a lot of us. Tell me, how many of you have emotions attached to the cities that you live in? It is, you should just do that. You should go to your favorite spots in the city, or spots that you've had trouble in, and see what emotions are connected with cities. And I think A Lion in Paris, besides showing you, taking you on a tour of Paris and opening up different kinds of emotions, happiness, sadness, fear, excitement, also makes you think how well we are, how much the place that you are in matters, to you, and what emotions it evokes in you. Lakshmi saying, one of my favorite tests, picked it up from Funky Rainbow last time I was there. Hooray. Just going to wrap up with a clutch of books. And, when we're really, really looking for feelings, there is this Dealing with Feelings series. There are two, Dealing with Feelings series of books, which are all written by Sonia Mehta, picking up a single emotion. I mean, there's no need to be shy. It isn't nice to be angry. Sham, you can show it in any order. Sulking isn't any fun. Sulking isn't any fun. Worrying is no good. There is no need to be scared. And being curious can be tricky. All little books that are set in a forest. I mean, there is the foggy forest, and it's inhabited by, fun little animals. And each of those animals, are the characters in these books. So Crumble in this book is a cat, and being curious can be really tricky. Now, what the book does is to tell you a simple story and gives you some little activities at the end. These are simple activities. These are not activities specifically connected to the emotion per se, but little activities that our youngest of readers can do. I think we have 12 books like this, 12 different emotions, from this, in this Dealing with Feelings series by Sonia Mehta. We'd say these ones work for 5+. And lots of young adult books in our collection, but I'm going to show you two which we loved, which came in recently as a sort of wrap to this segment. You Are Simply Perfect by Sadia Saeed, a mindfulness and self-awareness guide for tweens and teens. I just love the practical tips that Sadia has given. It gives you many tools. I mean, these are tools to cope with things that tweens and teens are going through on a daily basis. How do you deal with jealousy? How do you deal with bullying? How do you deal with anxiety, body image, self-esteem? Sadia has done a wonderful job of giving you little tips as well. I mean, explaining, it's a self-help book, so explaining those situations and giving you practical exercises, step-by-step solutions that you can try to see, whether it helps you deal with these problems. And in fact, what I love most is the fact of how much self reflection it encourages. This one definitely meant for 11, 10, 11 plus year olds, I would say. And in the same vein, The Midnight Years, Jane D'Souza and Sangeeta Unni, lovely book about teenagers who find themselves in different predicaments. Like, for instance, I connected so much with the setting that Jane has given to the book, a party that turns into a nightmare for four teenagers. I mean, how familiar is that context, right? And then what happens to each one of them? Sangeeta Unni, with whom she has co-authored, Jane has co-authored the book, is a psychologist and a counselor. You can see I mean, we would say this one clearly for 12 plus year olds, because each of those teenagers, coming out and talking about being crushed by family expectations, somebody being let down by the people that he trusts the most, someone making a single mistake that comes back to haunt you every single day of their lives. Teen dilemmas, so wonderfully expressed and so wonderfully explained. I think The Midnight Years is a wonderful book for all parents, all teachers, all librarians who are working with children 12 plus years, to help them deal with the anxieties that absolutely, that their lives sometimes, that come into their lives. So these are for young adults, but a lot more. I know many of you have made recommendations of The Lies We Tell. We have, Talking of Muskan. We've got a whole bunch of books up in our collection. Please go and explore them. We just need to look at them with new eyes to see how you can help our children, our tweens, and our teens, express these emotions, channelize them properly, and really live full lives. Before we go on to the new arrivals, I'm quickly just going to say hello, because after this, we will go on to our chat with the guest. I'm quickly just going to say hello to all our friends who've joined us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Archana Atri, Rupa Baliga, Sunila Kulkarni Gupte, how lovely. Meeta Bordole, how lovely to see you here. Arunji, Sangita Krishnamurti, Book Pickle, Ritvika Roy, Harini AS, Lakshmi Karunakaran, Happy Heart, Katha Kutuhala Khoj, Namita Patel, Harshita Das, T4 Tales, what a pleasure, Maya Ashwini, Eureka Children's Books, Raw Pav, Bhajju Sham, Namaste, how lovely to see you here, Duma Ketu, so nice to see you here, Nandita, Shantanu Datta Gupta, so nice to see you at a bazaar after ages, Pranoti, Akila Bharadwaj, Sanya Sarsi, Kerr Song Kit, Sujita Krishnamurti, Ponderous, Nia, Kaju Joy, Mitanti, Neetu Sharma, Nand, Twist the Tail, Halfling Rogue, Adidev Press, what a pleasure. Green Girl with Green Mind. Okay, I can't get that one. Kavya Shivakumar, The Stimulus, sorry, that's what it is. The Stimulus and Kavya Shivakumar. What a pleasure to see all of you at the bazaar today. We're going to get into our conversation with our guest. Just before we get there, Sham's going to show you a couple of new arrivals that came into our shelves. On our shelves. from various publishers. So, like I said, folks, do explore the website www.funkyrainbow.com. Click on the tab that says Book Bazaar, and a drop down menu will say season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4. Click on season 4 and go to a header that says Dealing with Feelings. These and a lot more books in our collection. And if you know that there are only limited copies of some books, you know why, of course. So go right ahead and order the ones that you think would suit your reading requirements. If you want to be in touch to find out what emotions those books deal with, you can always write to us on the number that Sham has up on the screen, 9900495665. I'm just going to check if our guest of the day is here this morning. So I'll introduce her before she comes on screen. What a pleasure it is to have with us on the show, one of the newest publishers on the block, Chitwan Mittal from Adidev Press. Always a source of great pleasure. Good afternoon, Chitwan. How lovely to see
Hi,
you
thank you
here
so much.
this
Thank
morning.
you for having me here. It's a real honor to be on your show. It's
Uh,
incredible what you do. And I was watching mesmerized because I was watching from the beginning. And it's incredible your knowledge of all the books that are available from around the world and from India. And I wanted to write down the number and save it for personal recommendations for my kids.
What a pleasure always to be in conversation with a new publisher and a new author, and one who has absolutely put in place a relationship with Funky Rainbow, because what was making us angry through our recommendation is books never reaching us in time. People, I have to say that problem has absolutely not existed with Adidev Press, and much credit for that goes to its publisher, Chitwan Mittal. So, putting your hands together for her once again and welcoming you on our show this morning for us. But Chitwan, who's joining us from Singapore, is probably a little late in the afternoon at the moment there. So, just a little bit about her. She has a BSc in English education from Boston University and an MA in values education from the University of London. What I really liked about what you shared was that you were part of the committee that established the Indian Institute of Teacher Education and the Children's University by the government of Gujarat in India. Both these institutes focused on experiential learning and holistic development of children through innovative educational tools. We can't stress more on the need to educate adults as well when they are working with children, and that's something that I didn't know about you, Chitwan, till you sent me your information on you. But ladies and gentlemen, she's here this morning, absolutely wearing her publisher hat as the publisher at Adidev Press, the author of of a lovely book that came into our collection, which prompted us to do this one on emotions and feelings. This one is Are Your Emotions Like Mine, written by her and illustrated by Shruti Hemani. And I'm sure she's going to talk to you, about it in the course of our conversation. And also because she says a lot of what she does is because she's a mother to two young boys as well. Bringing all that experience together, here we are in conversation with Chitwan Mittal of Adidev Press. We'll start off by asking you, Chitwan, about Adidev Press. And I'm just going to say this for my friends on Instagram. Sorry, I'm not sure you're watching, but if you can move to Funky Rainbow's YouTube channel, you'll be able to see this conversation. And if you are on Facebook, do consider joining us on Facebook. Otherwise, you're going to have to hear this conversation with Chitwan. But tell us about your Adidev Press and your publishing vision. Why did you feel the need to set up a publishing house that focuses on South Asian literature? And you know what? When we saw Adidev, the thought that came to mind was some power higher than us, but we realized that the power higher than you was your two boys, Aditya and Dev. And you've named Adidev Press after the two of them. Tell us a bit about all of this.
I think my publishing journey started with being a mother, and as raising my children as an expat living in Singapore, I realized that there is not enough books that would help me introduce their culture to them and give them books that would help them find themselves in those books, where they see representation of South Asian characters, people, and settings. So, I mean, every year I would have to go and read a story on Diwali, for example, in their schools. And it would be the same choice of one or two books. We might have maybe 10 now, but there are thousands and thousands of books on Christmas. So I feel that there is so much scope to do more work in children's literature that is based on our culture. I think we all grew up reading a lot of British fairy tales and Western stories. And I think since then, there has been a lot of development in publishing in India. And there is a scope for a lot more. And I hope with Adidev Press to fill in that gap. I also wanted our books to be of very high quality print, because that is something I missed when I was, as a child, I was growing up. I felt that is, I would long to see this type of quality of print with our themes and our culture and our children and settings. So I hope with Adidev Press we can have books that are of high quality print and which are more subtle and which are uplifting. It's not the typical style of representing and illustrating, and where the text is a little bit informed of educational pedagogy, and it's not very obvious what the message is, and like a moral of the story.
Absolutely.
So that is where I was trying to create the books that I hoped and wished existed for my children.
That's just lovely. Usually, these fantastic personal stories that really go on to make you do what you want to see. In fact, a lot of people who were, commenting, and I can see Vijay Lakshmi Nagraj, author and storyteller, who's usually in Bangalore but has now traveled to Madras and has joined us from there. She says, "Hello, Chitwan. Good to see you at the Funky Rainbow
Good to see
Bazaar."
you.
A lot of them commenting saying that, gosh, I wish we had these books when we were growing up. In fact, one of our viewers, Arun G, says, I wish I could, I wish I was born in 2020, because then I'd have a whole bunch of books, for me to read. Ritvika Roy, who's, an academic and very, very deeply researching in children's literature, saying, that is so true. I have such difficulty finding sufficient texts on children's mental health in South Asia for my thesis. And I'm so glad for publishers who've been actively working to bring in South Asian representation. So exciting to hear about Adidev Press. There you go.
Thank
The
you.
reason, why. The reason why more and more publishers are coming up, and we're really glad to welcome them on board Funky Rainbow and offer them space and representation on our colorful shelves as well. Really, though, your book, Are Your Emotions Like Mine, when it came to us, really, right, is when we actually started thinking of books on emotions and feelings. We've often had people ask us for parents ask us for books, and especially so in the pandemic, because I think children have been experiencing lots of emotions that are quite difficult to deal with. So when when this one came on board our shelves, we started looking at several of our books. So tell us, it's a much needed book for our times, Chitwan, and it's meant for our youngest readers, going across an older age group as well, depending on how you read the book. Why did you choose to write a book on this theme?
I think the larger answer is that as a society, we are beginning to realize the need for addressing emotions, emotional development with young children. I think we've spent decades of formal schooling just focusing on mental development, focusing on getting children ready to get into the world of jobs and earning. And now we realize that actually it's no use if those children turn out to be adults who are not happy, who are not balanced, who are not who don't have that kind of focus on their inner well-being. And as a society, we and with our as we've evolved, we've realized that this is something we need. And I feel like in the West there are many books on emotions, and I thought it would be nice to have one that is if that has an Indian or a South Asian character, which kind of shows the setting where the child can kind of feel that this showcases me. And that was my brief to Shruti Himani, who did this wonderful illustrations for this book. And there was this page in the book where, it says, living in this world so beautiful and bright. And she has done a marvelous job of making the city of Jodhpur. It's the view from Mehrangarh Fort. And it blew my mind away when she made this. And so this was the main idea behind writing this text. But on a more personal note, I wrote this text, and you'll see in the dedication, for my nephew, who was born during the pandemic where everything was locked down, and I could not meet him till he was a year and a half this December.
Oh,
So it was kind of something I wanted to do something special for my brother's son, who I did not see when he was born, and the original text was written for him. His mother is also very crazy about picture books and has a huge collection of picture books even before she had children, just like me. So I kind of created the text for her and made it with my children's pictures with different expressions, and I went through my entire phone book and found my children in different expressions and created that text, and then the idea of making it, publishing it came about.
how lovely, how lovely. Wearing the hat of mother, wearing the hat of aunt, and, author and publisher. And it does indeed, I mean, I can see many comments, Sunila saying, wish we had books like these when we were growing up. Archana Atri saying, my daughter was saying these books, she's going to gift it to her friends who are new young mothers. How lovely. What a wonderful way to to tell them that this is the book, this is the world that they are going to be familiar with. And Ritvika saying, such an important point, wish more parents and teachers were sensitive to this. And of course, Archana pointing out to Shruti Himani's wonderful illustrations. The book is handsomely produced, in keeping with Chitwan's words, where she says, we just wanted these beautifully, beautifully produced books, wonderfully illustrated with a lovely, subtle kind of palette. I mean, even if it is set in Jodhpur, the pink city, it's not. I mean, the illustration takes your breath away, but it's not screaming out at you loud like typically it
Yes.
does. And, a lovely bunch of stickers, which I know all children love. I know there's a wonderful trailer for the book that Adidev Press has created, and we're just going to show that to you before we move on to our next question.
Thank
And
you for sharing that.
Vijay Lakshmi saying feelings are such an important part of emotional well-being, and it's so wonderful that we have a book on feelings. Sangeeta Krishnamurti is saying, "Gosh, I love the quality and illustration. Save me a copy. Music to our ears for sure. We'll save you not one, 5 copies, even if you want them." Sangeeta, tell me, Chitwan, were there other books that you read, that on this theme that moved you, when you were doing the book on emotions, or something that you connected with very closely? Because there's often parents, teachers, and librarians watching us, and these recommendations, they go back and check them, and we're always happy for them to to get to know of books through our guests.
So there is a couple of books from Chinmaya Mission which both my children have enjoyed when they were around 3 to 4 years of age. It's a series of books called Little Yash, and it's
Okay.
Little Yash is happy right now,
Yeah.
and there is Little Yash has lost his smile, and they're very very sweet and simple stories. And I feel that at that age, when they're dealing with a lot of emotions and a lot of things are going on, they don't know how they, the little Yash is feeling happy right now is just about, I can't be happy till I get something, or I can't be happy if I'm not with a friend, or I can't be happy. And it's just very simply comes to the point where it's your choice. You can be happy with it and without it. And I found this book is something both my kids have enjoyed very much.
Ah.
And there is The Color Monster, which is by Anna Lianas, and that's something that's very cute and fun to read with young children.
We should, pick up. I mean, we don't have the books from the Chinmaya Mission, so now that you've pointed us in that direction, we'll see how we can get a couple of them into Funky Rainbow's collection. I can see, Nidhi Agarwal saying that I just love the logo of Adidev Press. Wow, look at the things that people notice. That's just wonderful. Oh yes, Adidev Press's logo, really, really attractive. Sunila saying
This
such a beautiful book, and sorry, and such an important topic, emotions. Go ahead, you were saying
No, I
something.
was just saying the logo comes from the star is from the A and then the D, if
The
you've noticed
D.
carefully. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see, I can't, somebody with a Chinese sort of script saying, huh? Okay, Shams corrected me and he says it's Japanese. Okay, master. Are the books available anywhere in Kolkata or online? We are online, www.funkyrainbow.com. All the books that we are recommending, plus a lot more up on our site. We ship everywhere. And yes, you say it's Japanese. Thank God we have partners at Funky Rainbow who are multilingual and how can identify Japanese as well. You can order these books off funkyrainbow.com. We'll have them delivered right at your doorstep, irrespective of which part of the world you live in. So very very similar to these, Chitwan, you've done the series of board books. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, that was the stunning thing about these books, that you chose to do them for the littlest of readers on values through the life of great thinkers like Buddha, Mahavira, and Guru Nanak. I mean, these are indeed big, I mean, big ideas for little philosophers in our lives. How, I mean, what did it take? How could you distill, the traditional wisdom of these great thinkers, more than anything, into cool life lessons? Because you know how kids are these days, right? Like, how did you manage to do that?
This was something that was very close to my heart. I've always been a student of philosophy. I've read philosophy as a young child. When we were in high school, my mother would have lots of people come and give lectures in the home. She had study circles. So, philosophy was something, and spirituality was something that was a part of who I was. It was around me, and I enjoyed it. And later, after my studies, I was involved in doing some courses for teacher educate B.Ed students on these themes, because we felt it was important for them to have a little holistic vision of life before they went and taught little children. And I always felt it's so important to be able to actually get these messages to young children, because by the time you reach them and they're these messages and philosophy comes to children when they're maybe in college and they do a philosophy course, or by chance it's a matter of accident, but it should be introduced at a very young age, just the simple ideas of these philosophers, and in a way that would make sense to them. So this is something that I was very excited by, and there were a few books that I read. There's a lovely book by Orwell Press, which is called The Aim of Life, which has taken different philosophers and what they've said and tried to put it in a simple manner. But that was still for, I feel, maybe high school level
Okay.
students. And my focus has always been even younger, but in a way that is just very simple, and getting just the essence of it and doing it in a way that it'll make sense for them in their daily lives. So we really try to get to the crux of the message, and it's written in verse, all these books. So it's something that I hope children will enjoy.
I mean, it's really so again so handsomely produced and picking off. I mean, kindness. What we need so much of it. We need it in abundance in our lives at the moment. Our children absolutely need it as well. And I can see Vijay Lakshmi saying this is such a wow, such appropriate themes. Guru Nanak and service, Buddha and peace, and Mahavira and kindness. Such so beautiful. And Sunila saying that you absolutely hit the nail on the head, Vijay Lakshmi. I mean, values that really are timeless and we need these values to to get through life, to sort of to live it in a nice way. And I can't remember who said this, but I can't help remembering it now, saying that it's easier to fix younger people than broken men or broken adults. I can't remember. I'm sure it's some, I have a feeling it might have been Will Smith, because I was reading his biography recently, and maybe him he who said it, but I think that it's utterly and absolutely important that we have these value systems that that help us get past life, and that you have actually done it for the littlest of readers is just simply remarkable. There's Peace with Buddha. Again, you can see the handsome production values of Adidev Press. These books have been written by Chitwan Mittal and Sarita Saraf, and fabulously illustrated by Debasmita Das Gupta. Many, we have many of her books on our shelves. Glad to add these ones as well. Harini saying this is very, very true, and Archana saying what I love about these books is that they're not about the religion but about the values. It's about
Yes.
religiosity in actions, and she's absolutely hit the nail on the head. And you can see service with Nanak. Really, little readers and big values. What a great idea, Chitwan. Are there more books in this series coming up?
Yes, many. We are very excited about this series, and we want to create, we are creating several books. The next set is Women in Science, and the one
Oh,
after that is Sports Women,
oh,
followed by we are working on performing artists and change makers. And there's a very exciting lineup of books in this series.
how very exciting. We're going to, of course, because the Adidev Press makes such beautiful trailers, we can't but help show you the trailers of these books. Sham, can we see the one on the Learning to Be series? So calming and lovely about that trailer, Chitwan. But while we were talking about other books in the pipeline, why don't you tell our audience about the other Adidev books that have already come out before going into one or two that are in the pipeline?
Okay. So we have J is for Jalebi, which is our Hindi alphabet book for little foodies. Yes. This is just something very fun and quirky, beautifully illustrated by Ambika Karandikar, girl with green mind. And I just wanted to do an alphabet book which is not with stock images. That's something that kids would love and they would like to look at again and again. That would connect with their everyday lives, because I think if you are a Hindi language learner, you will be talking about food in that language at home. And I feel that that would have a more direct connect than the regular alphabet books in the market, which kids cannot connect to, you know,
And you've connected it to food. J is for
which
jalebi. I mean, it's a thing that I say ever so often in my chats with different people, saying that, like you mentioned, I grew up reading a lot of British literature. So there were scones and there were puddings and there were pies.
yes.
But I've never eaten a scone or a pudding or a pie in my life. J is for jalebi. We know what a jalebi looks like and how you can crunch on one, right?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, oh, yeah. So then,
Oh yeah, and, sorry. Mutama was
um,
saying that her son would always say Jill babies, so that's how we refer to it at Funky Rainbow. Always J is for Jill babies, not jalebis.
yeah. This
But
was
yes,
also
go ahead.
inspired by my younger son, who's a foodie and loves to eat. So it was a way of like getting him excited about learning the language. So,
Nice. The other
and then
one
we
you
have another book called My First Hanuman Chalisa, which is the entire prayer of the Hanuman Chalisa, but illustrated. Each verse is illustrated really beautifully by Aprajita Vasudev, Appa Fuzz on Instagram. And the idea behind this book was that I wanted to make this prayer that so many people love, but we often do not understand what we are saying. We know so many adults in our lives who have been saying this prayer every day, and a lot of them have also come back and said, actually, we didn't know the meaning of some of these words. And so the book has been, each verse has been translated very simply, and we've checked the translation for readability at grade 1 and 2 level for each sentence, and the word meanings have been given for each for the translation, and the original verse is there as well. We also have a QR code at the back of the book in this, where the mother can scan it while she's doing the bedtime storytelling and reading the book with her child. And if she has trouble reading the original verse or doesn't know the right pronunciation, it's there because I mean, it's meant for an international audience as well. Might be obvious to us in India, but so we tried to
and the
make it
lovely
as, yeah.
stickers.
And there is a sticker sheet because Hanuman is I think one of the gods that children really love, and he's like a superhero, and he's, you know, he inspires children to be brave and strong, and I think kids naturally connect with Hanuman. And this, and Aprajita did a fantastic job of making him making this book kind of something that is a mix of kind of pop culture and superhero kind of level of illustration.
That's
It's
true.
nothing like any traditional illustration I've ever seen of Hanuman.
I can see a couple of comments. We read says, for my children who read Bargad tree as burger tree, this book J is for jalebi will definitely be a treat. All the books are available at Funky Rainbow. They're available at good discounts. Do consider clicking on our website. We deliver everywhere across the country and the world. www.funkyrainbow.com. You can find all of Adidev's books, on our shelves. Arun actually has a good and interesting question. It's a question that we all think of time and again, and then sometimes maybe we don't have time to think of it as well. But he says, I was wondering, in the age of giants with money, motivated by money, indies, publishing and selling for the love of a book, how do you deal with this? We discussed it even yesterday. You may just want to send out, it's not easy, I'm sure.
It's not easy. I mean, the I think nobody gets into publishing with the aim of making a lot of money. I think people who are in this industry are ones who are really passionate about creating books, about the, you know, doing something meaningful for the next generation, and kind of, I mean, for me, it is, I feel, my purpose of why I'm here, and that is the reason I'm in it. Yes.
Yeah, Arun, but what has been lovely in this journey, and I'm sure Chitwan will discover it as the journey proceeds as well, is that there are many, many supporters like all of you who have, I mean, at the pandemic, when the pandemic hit us and we were a traveling bookshop, I thought, what are we going to do? I mean, like, how are we even going to go forward even for a month or two, but we've discovered readers and readers, and I hope they've discovered books and books. I mean, we're almost going to complete 2 years of the bazaar at the moment, and I'm just stunned that we are discovering more books from our shelves, and you are all watching us and still supporting us and picking up books and reaching them to readers. I think that kind of passion, I hope, will translate into viability in some way. That's what we hope for. I'm sure that's what
And
even.
hopefully the next generation of children will grow up to be, passionate readers, and it'll take on a meaningful thing for the generation after them. It won't
Right.
be such a struggle for bookstores and the
Really keeping
industry.
fingers
Yeah.
crossed for independent publishers and independent bookstores. Of course, since this bazaar was on emotions, I wanted to close with asking you to give us a few tips that parents, teachers, and librarians can use to help their children express emotions and build their emotional intelligence. After all, I began this show saying this, we are what we feel. So do you have some tips for all of us watching?
I think one of the most important things is to recognize the value of emotional development in children and to give it the time and focus that it needs. I think for schools and the administration and for teachers to realize the value of that. And for very young children, of course, using circle time, using that time to address emotional development, stories, using stories as a way to set up different scenarios where children can see themselves and use that as a sounding board or a starting point to talk about their emotions is something that I see is happening very often now in younger grades. I think there is a lot of value in using in the environment as a third learning tool. It's not just the teacher, it's not just the materials, but it's the environment that you create in the physical environment, the classroom, the to make that a joyous place, to have those quiet places where the child can reflect and be quiet and absorb and deal with their feelings. To create those spaces in a school, in a classroom is very important. I think for older children, I feel journaling is something that's traditionally been very, very helpful. I tried it at one point with my son. I came across a guided journal, which we did together. And it was such an interesting experience because it prompts you to say, for example, mention a time when you didn't succeed at something and how did you deal with it. And then the mother has to answer the same thing, and having the mother actually acknowledge those experiences as well was something I thought that was very useful. The child feels, okay, I'm not alone in this feeling, and and it leads to a conversation, which is
Yes.
very important to make start those conversations at home, because often very if you'll just ask the kid, how was your day, tell me what happened, they might not bring those things up.
Hmm.
But if it becomes a conversation and you're part of it and you share your own day, that is or your own challenges that you faced, it becomes something that will bring out something that they might be shy to share.
That is really, really well said, actually, right? Because that's what emotional intelligence is all about: identifying and knowing that you're not in isolation, and that everybody, whether they're grown up, whether they're teenagers, whether they're absolute infants, do feel these emotions, and there are ways of dealing with them. It's very, very well said. I can see different people saying, we just love the bazaar. Ritvika saying, that three cheers for the Funky Rainbow team and all the publishers whose books are here. Vijay Lakshmi saying it so well: those who love books will follow you even to the moon. A moon bazaar one day, then for sure. Okay. Arun saying, thank you, Funky Rainbow, for bringing guests who are so passionate about books. Ritvika saying, I couldn't agree more. Emotional development cannot happen in a bubble, particularly empathy. It's a group effort. Can you recommend any such journal? Chitwan and Vidya Archana says, would you like to name the journal,
I
Chitwan?
think it was called Big Life Journal, if I remember correctly. I think it was from the US that I had ordered it.
We need more publishers. So
We
there's
need more people who do
idea
that.
there,
Yes, for
right
sure.
there. We need
Yeah.
Indian, journals that South Asian kids or Indian kids can
Yes.
certainly identify with. And Vijay Lakshmi is saying, actually, a teacher is supposed to address the EQ of children. It's part of the teacher's course, but it's lost in chasing marks. I'm so glad that your books have brought the focus back. And Muttama is saying that schools these days do allocate time for mindfulness. And one of the schools that we work with, Samhita Academy, sure does that. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us at the show today, Chitwan. It's been a pleasure to have your books on our shelves and, to see these wonderfully produced books. And I'm so glad I can't hold them all up already. There's already that many of them right away. But for all of you, or each one of Adidev's books are on our shelves and on our website, and we can ship them right across to the country. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to a lot more books from Adidev Press.
Thank you so much for having me here today. It was a real pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. I can see a couple of more queries coming in, but I think we are sort of almost running out of time. But they're more comments. They were like, Arun saying, I see teachers are including socio emotional learning in classes. And Vijay Lakshmi saying, thank you, Chitwan and Funky Rainbow, for the super morning. Book Pickle saying, very true. A lot of schools are focusing on socio emotional learning. And the person who's writing in Japanese, I want to read your name and I will try to read it in Japanese one day. At least today, I will try to figure out what that name means. You say, thank you from Mustard Seeds Library. I really do hope you'll connect with us and take books into your library. Before we say, I mean, we can say bye bye to Chitwan and conclude the rest of our bazaar. But absolutely a pleasure. Thank you for joining us this morning, Chitwan. Mora
Thank you.
Hurley. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for that wholehearted support and watching and recommending so many wonderful books. I know many of you have listed books, and if you could WhatsApp a couple of those names to us, we would be delighted to check them out and see if we can put them on our shelves. But everything at Funky Rainbow, always ends with a dash of another emotion, and that is humor. So we are going to invite our pesky relative, Kengeri Hanumantarao, to regale you with some laughs before we sign off for the day. Hello, Kengeri, who also looks like a laughter riot, if I may say so, but we shall wait for Kengeri to join us right here.
Namaskara. I am the Kangeri, retired from the Panchayat. Now I'm listening to all these emotional talks. I'm very emotional person. So then when Chitwan madam and the editor Amma is talking about the very many emotions, then I am thinking I should ask you questions about the emotions. Then I'm asking the riddle type questions. So I have the 4 questions today. Then if you are ready, then we shall start. Okay. Now we are talking about the emotions. Sometimes we are the happy, like in the Kengere, we are always happy. We are also jobless, but we are also very happy. We are happily jobless or joblessly happy. Either way, it is the very emotion. Then sometimes we are the sad, then we are sometimes we are the angry, like the Akku little girls, so like the Akku, like the like that. Ask you questions like the idioms and alls. Like the editrama will know. And I am also know. One more person, one librarian. Who is that lady? Yes, Myth Auntie also. She answers all the questions. So now I ask you first question. Uh, what is emotion when you are say I am on the cloud nine? Very easy questions. Too Lady Drama is saying too easy, but in Kengeri it is very difficult to. You don't understand. So I am gives that 30 seconds. Oh, the we reads. They are saying happy. Yes. Very good answer. It is the happiness. If I am on the cloud nines, not one or two clouds, okay, nines clouds. It has to be nine clouds. Only then happy. If it's eight clouds, not so happy. It is nine clouds. So when I am on clouds nine, I am very happy. Like that. Next question. Okay. Um, uh, when one person is on pins and needles, what is emotion? What is emotion? See, if I am on pins and needles. Yes, see what is happens is when somebody else is sitting in editorama seat, it is like that. It is oh. You can't take editorama seats like that. Then if you are taking editorama seat, you are on pins and needles. Yes, nervous. That is the correct answer. Yes. So many people are saying anxiety, nervousness. So very smart people in our audience, editorama. Yeah. No. Hey, you can't tell like that of Kengeri. Yes, very good answer. Very good answer. Big hands to all of you. Now, next question. Just like the pins and the needles, there is another also likes which the needles only. But think it is intelligence question. It is very tough. So just pay attention. Okay. If somebody again like editorama only, editorama is example for everything. Exemplary. Yes. So if somebody is hard as nails, what is the meanings? That person is hard as nails. So editorama is always hard as nails when it comes to my emotions. Kengeri's emotions not care this editorama. Oh, please don't make me emotional. But no, today is a good mood day. Then say yes, toughy, strict too. Yes, exactly like the editorama. What is this? Comma is here. What is this? M dash? Deletes. This articles you forgets. I am the Kengeri. No. I am Kengeri. No, like that. So she is like hard as nails. Of when it comes to grammar, so she's very tough. Just like nails. Like nails, she wants to drives the nails into my hearts like that. And I'm feeling. I am also read. I am also learns the English just like the editor. So once she is hard as nails and she is poking my heart like that with the English grammar. So then what is the emotion you have to tell? Then what happens when I go to pieces? What happens when I goes to pieces? Not like world pieces, not like that. Not even green pieces. Green pieces you eat too. Hammer into your head too. What is like this? Please, no hammer, no violence. No, we are very non-violent people. Yes, now please to answer the questions. When somebody is goes to pieces, so what is emotion? Fear. Fear is possible. So fear is. I am always fearful of my grammar. So upset. Yes, that is the correct answer. We read so is saying upset. That is correct answer. When you are go to pieces, we are the upsets. We are the sad. We are the depressed. Do all like that. So very all emotions we are talks about. So very big, nice conclusion to the book Buzzaar. So on that notes, I shall give the dayas back to the editor Amma, who will now come in as hard as nails, and I will finish sitting on my pins and needles, and I will accept from here and be on cloud nines. Namaskara. I will see you next week. So, okay, okay, okay. Please have the happy lunch. Also, very emotion. Bye bye.
And oh gosh, a happy camper Kenkeri in our lives. Is that what Editor Amma does about grammar? Says Archana Atri. We know you do exactly the same thing, you grammar Nazi. So don't blame me just now. Happy campers there, all of us, starting from with Kengeri. We're going to close the bazaar with just calling out the names of a few more people who've joined us. Dream Library, P.S. Raval, Pari the Bookworm, SGM Bookstore, Kalpana Prem, Annapurna Das, Lakshmi, Sharana Shri, Honestly Iram, Lotus Anu, Megha KP, Rose Charlie, Nidhi Agarwal, Vijay Lakshmi Nagaraj, and we read. What a pleasure to have you all at our bazaar on feelings and emotions today. Do check our website www.funkyrainbow.com. You will find many books on emotions and feelings there, and if you considered ordering them from Funky Rainbow, we would be the happiest in the world. Keep feeling, be happy, keep reading. We'll see you next week with another bazaar. Till then, bye bye and happy reading.